Let's start by welcoming all of you to this fourth PEFC EUDR webinar. Today, we embark on the journey to explore how companies can harness the power of PEFC's EUDR solution to not only comply with the stringent EU deforestation regulation, but also to unlock the myriad of benefits that drive sustainability and business growth. Imagine a world where business operations not only meet regulatory requirements, but also contribute to the preservation of our planet's precious forests. My name is Thorsten Arndt. I'm head of advocacy at PEFC International. We've got a couple of housekeeping messages. If you're looking for French or Spanish interpretation, please press the interpretation button down at the bottom. We will have 2 Q&As during the session. Please post your messages in the Q&A channel. We are unable to accept raised hands for the purpose of time. With that, I'd like to welcome you meeting, and I'd like to start with a number. The number is 25. To be more exact, 25%. That is a percentage of the global production forests that are PEFC certified. Why is this important to you? Because by choosing the PEFC EUDR solution, you are actually accessing 25% of the world's supply of production forests. But at the same point in time, you're also helping to sustainably manage 1/4 of those forests and contributing to the sustainable livelihoods of those who work in these forests and live in or around them. So how does PEFC's EUDR solution look like? At the core, there is the PEFC EUDR DDS module, which is potentially the most important element because it allows operators to put a due diligence system in place that meets the requirements of the EUDR. It mirrors the EUDR in its requirement, but in a simplified form, in a form that you are all familiar with, or many of you, because it is written in the same language that you know from PEFC and from our chain of custody standard. It enables the data transfer for our PEFC EUDR aligned data reporting, which we do together with our technology partners, specifically LiveEO, OSapiens, and Timber ID. This allows you then to feed that information as required into the EUDR online registry. This already solves your challenge as to how to tackle the EUDR. But PEFC wouldn't be PEFC if we didn't go further in providing safeguards to you to ensure that you are complying with the regulation. For this, there are 2 additional elements in place. The first element is that we have adapted our sustainable forest management standard to also comply with EUDR, which means that 25% of the world's production forests are managed in compliance with EUDR and, of course, over and above, meet all the sustainability requirements that we have been developing and evolving over the past 25 years. The second element is potentially even more important. It is the third-party certification element for both sustainable forest management as well as chain of custody. That gives extra confidence that the material that you are procuring through your PEFC EUDR due diligence system module is aligned with the requirements of the EUDR. With that, I'd like to introduce you to the 4 speakers that we have today. You're starting with Maya, who will give an update about what is happening at the European level, followed by Hubert, who will provide information as to where we are with our sustainable forest management standard and how did we get to where we are now. Then, after a question and answer session, Marta will take over to provide in-depth information as to how you can implement the EUDR DDS module. And finally, we have Rob, who will talk about everything related to data and technology. And he'll have special guests, but more about that later. With that, I'd like to hand over to Maya.
Thank you very much, Torsten, and hello to everyone. My name is Maya Dercha. I'm PEFC EU representative based in Brussels. So in this section, I will take you through the latest developments, EUDR updates at EU level. And we will start with the timeline. Hopefully by now, I think we're all aware that there is a delay in the EUDR implementation and application date. So there has been a provisional agreement reached on delaying the EUDR for 12 months, agreed in December, and we're still waiting for formal approval to be reached by the end of December for this legal change to enter into force. But how did we get here? So I will take you now through the process just to understand better the background. So after some long months of waiting and anticipating what could happen, the Commission on 2nd of October published a proposal to grant a 12-month additional phasing-in period for the EUDR. Following the standard EU co-legislation process, the proposal was reviewed by European Council, which are the EU member countries, and the European Parliament. Both of them agreed that the 12-month delay should be granted, whereas the European Parliament suggested some additional legal changes. And those of you who follow the process more closely may know that this also included or proposed establishment of the 4th benchmarking category, which would be called no-risk category. Then the process was followed by negotiations where the 3 parties sat together at the table, and after the second meeting reached an agreement which basically concluded that the 12-month delay will be granted and no additional legal changes will be included in the EUDR text. The co-legislator also agreed that the Commission will commit to facilitate further the EUDR implementation, and for that purpose, the Commission will issue a sort of statement by the end of the year. So, just to remind ourselves, with this confirmed delay, the new dates that apply are 30th December 2025 for large and medium companies and 30th June 2026 for micro and small enterprises. As I mentioned earlier, this is still pending formal approval. Again, there are still some formal steps that need to be taken in this legislative process. So the European Parliament and the member states still need to sort of give an okay. And then this needs to be published in the EU official journal by the end of the year, so it can enter into force and be applicable then with new timeline. The EU, the Commission, is also working on a number of supporting tools. So we have an extensive toolbox that will support the implementation and enforcement of the EUDR. We are happy to see that the box with launched or published tools is getting bigger, or is bigger at this point than the side of the box where we're still awaiting some of the tools. But if we just quickly go through and list the tools that are already available for all of you to be used. So we have a guidance document, which was published on the 2nd of October, together with the new third version of the frequently asked questions document, so-called FAQ. We now also have a fully functional information system that was kicked off on 4th of December. We have an improved second version of the EU Forest Observatory, so the forest cover mapping. And we also have a new communication on strategic framework for international cooperation engagement, which was also published on 2nd of October. If we look at the pending tools, we still await the decisions related to risk classification of countries and regions thereof, so country benchmarking. And the Commission is working on the EUDR review, so we await further steps in this context as well. And now I will just briefly take us through this overview. Each of the tools require special attention. We can go very much into details, but not in this webinar in view of time. But I would like to start with the guidance document, which is available on the Commission website, and I invite you all to read it, understand it. So the guidance document provides more details, more clarification on 11 aspects, namely definitions of placing on the market, making available on the market, and export, definition of operator, date of effect and time frame for application. Then it looks into due diligence and definition of negligible risk. It looks into clarification of complexity of the supply chain. It provides further details for legality purposes, product scope, and regular maintenance of a due diligence system. It addresses composite products, also the role of certification and third-party verification schemes. And it goes more in details in terms of agricultural use. It also includes annexes 1 and 2, where it provides more practical examples, specifically on placing on the market, making available on the market, and export, and some more practical cases for composite products, what information it requires, and what are the due diligence requirements. So especially Chapter 10, as I mentioned, speaks about the role of certification and third-party verification schemes in risk assessment and risk mitigation, and gives further guidance to operators that wish to utilize certification schemes like PEFC, and of course the steps they can follow. The guidance document is, of course, of voluntary nature. Next one is FAQ, frequently asked questions. The new version provides 44 additional questions and answers. I believe that leaves us now with either, I think, 130 or 140 questions and answers. The new version provides some simplifications, and I will just name a few. And as mentioned, I strongly invite you to read the document. It provides already some better guidance, and then the Commission also, of course, stated that further updates of the FAQ are foreseen in the future. But if we look at the simplifications, for example, the new FAQ talks about frequency of submission of due diligence statements, then submission of due diligence statements for multiple commodities, use of relevant products for unrelevant products, declaration of geolocation in excess, what geolocation requirements are needed for small land plots under 4 hectares, etc. So many useful information in the FAQ. Next one is the information system, which is a Commission platform where due diligence statements will be uploaded. This system was officially launched on 4th of December, and with that, it is fully functional. Operators and traders can register in the system already as of November. And at the moment, we have 2 active platforms available for use. One is a live server where operators and traders can submit valid and binding due diligence statements. These statements already have a legal value. However, with the new timeline, competent authorities will still not look at these statements at the moment. However, as mentioned, the submission can already happen. Then there is another platform which is for training and for everyone to familiarize with the platform. This is just, as mentioned, for training purposes and not to submit official due diligence statements. The Commission also published some facilitation tools that will be helpful to understand better the system, namely implementing regulation on the functioning of the information system, then the user guide, also online trainings, and API technical specifications. Further, the Commission also now clarified that non-EU operators can submit due diligence statements in the system. This would enable easier processes and to facilitate the process. However, for non-EU operators, they will require an EURI number, and this is linked to it's not specific to the EUDR, but it's something that is required for customs and so on. So this is the information system. Next one is the EU Observatory on Deforestation and Forest Degradation. I named it earlier EU Forest Observatory. So we now have an improved second version as of December. You can find it on Commission website. The components of this observatory are, so it covers different elements: global forest monitoring, production and trade of commodities, global land use, carbon fluxes, and tools for forest monitoring. This tool, so observatory, is non-mandatory, non-exclusive, and not legally binding, and it is there to facilitate geolocation requirements, risk assessments, and compliance checks for everyone that wishes to use the tool. However, it is not fully accurate. Therefore, deeper assessment and further verification will be required, as well as using additional tools. I would like to continue with country benchmarking. So this is so-called risk classification of countries and regions, and the risk of presence of deforestation and forest degradation in the country or region. This is an ongoing process, and the Commission is currently working on the methodology for a qualitative and quantitative assessment to ensure reliability of data that will drive this, the decisions. The timeline has been has been moved. The new date is now 30th June 2025 at the latest for the decisions to be published. At the moment, all countries carry a standard risk level. That means that due diligence statements need to include full due diligence obligations. And in the future, the Commission stated that according to this methodology, a large majority of countries worldwide will be classified as low risk. Commission will also engage with countries that are close to thresholds and will run dialogues with partner countries in this regard. Before the start of the implementation, the Commission is already working on a review of the EUDR, as stated in Article 34 of the regulation, which will assess the impact of potential extension of the scope of the EUDR. For this purpose, the Commission with a contractor is looking into two bigger areas. One is other wooded land, and the second is a big package looking into other ecosystems, financial institutions, and potential extension of EUDR to new commodities and derived products. So the Commission is currently conducting impact studies that will underpin the review. Those are foreseen in 2025, and then further steps will be defined according to these studies. Also, as part of this process, the Commission is conducting targeted or the contractor is doing targeted consultations. There will also be time for public consultations where broader public is able to participate and provide feedback. Finally, the new communication on strategic framework for international cooperation engagement outlines key needs and priorities for cooperation with third countries. And it includes 8 key principles that range from dialogue to more concrete support with actions, learnings, good practices, engagement at country level, looking at the human rights center approach, transparency, coordination, and synergies with other EU policy initiatives. So a very broad framework, which also carries in its annex general principles on the benchmarking methodology. So you can find some further details on the benchmarking methodology in this annex. Last but not least, I would like to invite you to visit the Commission website, learn about all the tools, explore, if needed, register for trainings for the IT system. There are there's a list of dates available for the next training, so you can still get your slot. There's also a newsletter that the Commission has launched where you can subscribe and get all the latest updates. And with that, I conclude the EU update and hand over to Hubert. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maya. Hello, everyone. Welcome on today's webinar. My name is Hubert Inhäuser. I'm a Forestry and Conservation Manager at PEFC International. And I had the pleasure to lead the work stream for EUDR alignment on a sustainable forest management level. Just to start with, to recap a little bit, when about more than a year ago, when we started this work stream and we switched into first gear to kick it off, this was the image what we realized that what you see on the left side, this was the structure of our sustainable forest management standard, how we looked into the various input categories within the PEFC framework. And then on the right-hand side, where you see the EU logo, that this is how the EUDR approached it. And that was one of the biggest challenges over this year of development process, to somehow build on these two, because that was a difficult element to find common ground to see how we can accommodate both worlds globally. And I'm very proud to present you this approach, what we created. And here, maybe this is the best time to acknowledge the almost 300 people who contributed to this development process over this very intense year of development work, including who joined us and shared their comments during the international public consultation, the task forces, the working groups, because this is the final framework which we are able to provide to the global users to accommodate these various input categories within the forest and also for the trees outside of the forest, because we believe that even trees outside the forest, if they meet sustainability safeguarding requirements, they are also able to contribute to the sustainable supply chains. So all of these modifications, if I turn them into numbers, that means that in our sustainable forest management standard, we deployed 36 modifications. And these are the ones which are the most prominent in the chapter 3, where we have 70 modifications. So this means that it gives you a very clear overview that when it comes to operations, when it comes to, let's say, anything else, we already cover much more than a legal compliance. However, to be on the same page and to make sure that we have a common understanding of the input categories, the most modifications we needed to have in the terms and definitions section. And there's a fair amount in the Appendix 2, and the Appendix 2 covers trees outside forest. And as you can see, almost one quarter of the modifications are related to that. Because again, when we're talking about trees outside forest, that's something where we felt that this is also an opportunity for us to make it a bit stronger and globally more relevant. So, but the end result is that of this work stream, at least, that the PEFC General Assembly approved these modifications on 13th November 2024. So right after it, we already published this updated standard. It carries the name of 1003/2024. And now it's time for the national governing bodies to accommodate these changes in their national and regional systems. Because PEFC's main strength lies in their bottom-up approach, what we are implementing through our national governing bodies over the 50 countries we are working with. And we bring through these processes, these definitions to be allowed to be discussed at national and regional level and to find their place, the right scope, and the right way of understanding that how we can put this into actual operations. What does it mean for us? It's very important maybe to mention at this stage that the SFM level alignment, meaning the PEFC ST1003, is not approaching this issue with a modular approach, but it creates an even level of playing field of secured safeguards, which are delivering on the deforestation requirements as well. So we are not using a modular approach for SFM. This is something that when the national regional systems are accommodating these changes, from that moment onwards, this becomes globally applicable. And in order to support this process, we have a number of supporting documentation available for you to help the understanding of these modifications. Of course, we have the first element, which is the summary of the modifications. This is the list of modifications. which are available. Then, which may be a bit more helpful for those who are visual types, that we created a document which includes the highlights of the changes. And in addition to this, that we also created a comparison document between the changes of the 2018 and 2024 version of the SFM standard, where on the left-hand side, as you can see it in the screenshot there, with red, you see what changed, and in the blue, changed into what compared to the old standard. So all of this is available on the PEFC website, published very recently. So please make sure that you make good use of it. And unfortunately, I'm not able to get more into the details of the modifications because of time constraint, unfortunately. However, we are available for questions, and I think that, Torsten, this is our time now to turn to the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hubert and Maya. I see exactly one open question, unless of course there are some that are overlooked. This question will actually be addressed in the next session by Marta. So I ask for just your patience and listen closely, and I'm pretty sure that you will find the answer. With that, we can directly go to our next presenter, who will provide an answer to the question that has been posed about how to benefit from the PEFC EUDR EDS module. Marta, over to you.
Thank you very much, Torsten, and thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Marta Martinez Pardo, working with PEFC at the certification program unit, and I have been quite involved on the development of the PEFC EUDR DDS module that I'm gonna introduce to you all now, and that I hope that I will manage to answer the question on how this module can help companies within the supply chain, operators and previous companies and companies afterwards in their duties, EUDR duties. So I would start by highlighting why would you choose to go for the PEFC EUDR due diligence system? Why would you get certified? So first of all, because it simplifies the complex text of the regulation into clear steps, and to do so, it uses language that is familiar to everybody, familiar to everybody that works in standardization with the standards. So it uses ISO language, and it also uses the language on the PEFC existing chain of custody standard. So if you are already certified, it will be quite easy for you to understand the structure of the module. In addition to that, it has a worldwide application. It can be implemented in Europe, but not only in Europe. Also, the companies sourcing to Europe can get certified. This way, it facilitates the sharing of the EUDR data across borders. It enables full flexibility at company level. It's fully up to you to decide which products you would like to cover by the EUDR due diligence system. If you don't want to cover your full supply chain, you don't have to. If not all your products will finish on the EU market, you don't have to implement the EUDR due diligence for all your products, just for those that need to comply with EUDR. In addition to that, the PEFC chain of custody system, it's an extensive system. We are currently diversifying our scope, and this implementation of the module built up over the existing PEFC chain of custody standard enables synergies with other PEFC solutions. for example, with solutions for the Renewable Energy Directive. It also helps you to assure compliance. PEFC has 25 years of history on certification, and certification is implemented by independent certification bodies. So you will get an independent third-party auditor who is an expert on the field, whose expertise is on auditing companies similar to you on similar requirements, will go to your company and will audit your PEFC EUDR TDS compliance, giving you some idea of where you are at and helping you improving. To finish with, and we will touch again this point later on and we'll be explaining more detail, there is a streamlined data management. The PEFC EUDR due diligence system provides guidance on how you need to collect, record, and share all the information that is required in order to facilitate EUDR data requirements. If you are wondering how does it work together with the current chain of custody, so you are already PEFC chain of custody certified, how should you start implementing this module? It's quite easy because the module, the PEFC EUDR due diligence system, has been built up over the existing chain of custody. What does it mean? That you will be implementing the full chain of custody standard, except for the due diligence system for those products that you want to do or you need to align with EUDR. Instead of implementing the due diligence system that it's currently on the PEFC chain of custody standard, you will instead implement the PEFC EUDR due diligence system. In addition to that, the module also includes additional requirements for the identification of claims and the communication of outputs that we will see in more detail later on. What's the scope of the PEFC EUDR due diligence system? For which materials can I use it? Forest and tree-based material defined as a relevant product by the EUDR, and specifically wood and rubber. Important to note that the scope of the EUDR due diligence system is not limited to PEFC certified material. You can also use it and implement it to forest and tree-based material that is non-certified. And for this purpose, the module comes with quite a strong tool, the risk mitigation chapter. Going now into more details, what are the steps on the due diligence? What do I need to implement? First step, collection of information. Second step, risk assessment. Third step, managing any substantiated concerns that you may have received or you may be aware of. Fourth step, and this one to keep in mind, it's only implementable where applicable, mainly for operators and traders that shall submit the due diligence statement to the EU information system or that shall publish the statement. The standard also includes this chapter in order to facilitate this work. The fifth step is the risk mitigation, and the sixth step is the no placement on the market. The steps are exactly the same steps as in the current due diligence system within the existing chain of custody standard. The only step that changes is the due diligence submission and publication. Collection of information. First step. The first task that you will need to conduct when implementing the EUDR due diligence system is classifying the materials according to the PEFC EUDR related categories. And this will guide you, will support you to identify the level of information that you need and to prepare to conduct the risk assessment on the next step. As part of the information that you will need to be collected, will enable the traceability to the plot of land and will enable that the EUDR related data is passed on through the supply chain according to the needs of each company within the supply chain. In addition to that, I mentioned it earlier, the implementation of the due diligence system requires a third-party audit. Some of you will be located in the supply chain in a position where your role is to ascertain that the due diligence system was conducted by your suppliers. By using PEFC EUDR claim material, you have this level of uncertainty, additional level, because there is a third-party auditor that went to visit your supplier and check that the supplier was properly implementing the PEFC EUDR due diligence system standard. Very important, how to track whether the material that you have been supplied has gone through the PEFC EUDR due diligence system or not. Through the PEFC EUDR claim. The module enables and requires companies that are chain of custody plus PEFC EUDR due diligence system certified to add to the output product and to pass on to the customers a PEFC EUDR claim. This claim is to be used together with the traditional PEFC claims, PEFC certified and PEFC control sources. So you use them together and you can respond to the different needs of the certification. In addition to that, here you have the material classification category that we referred earlier. So you will conduct the step of classifying the material that you are being sourced according to the different categories in order to identify the information that you need. We can see here an example. When you receive material and you can classify it as PEFC EUDR referenced, it means that the material comes with a PEFC EUDR claim, with the PEFC chain of custody claim, with an EU reference number. So an operator is sourcing it to you or someone after the operator within the supply chain. Then your role is ascertain that the risk assessment, the due diligence system was implemented. You can utilize the third-party certification that PEFC ensures to do this, and then you only need to obtain the information on request. Moving on now to the risk assessment. The PEFC module identifies 4 risks fully linked with the EUDR text: risk of illegality, risk of deforestation and forest degradation, risk of mixing at supply chain level. Those are the 3 main risks that the EUDR identifies. In addition to that, the module includes a 4th risk, controversial sources, for those cases. Generally, the PEFC chain of custody certification goes beyond EUDR, and in order to cover those aspects, we have a 4th risk here, controversial sources, which makes material going through an EUDR due diligence system fully aligned with the current due diligence system. Important to note, the risk shall be assessed separately for each of these 4 categories and shall result in negligible risk for each of the risks. If this is not the case, for the category for which the risk is not low or negligible risk, the risk needs to be mitigated. And before we jump into the risk mitigation, here are some examples of indicators that the standard uses to consider material as negligible risk. First one, material delivered under a PEFC EUDR claim. If independently whether you are positioned within the supply chain, when you are receiving material under a PEFC EUDR claim, this is one of the indicators that when you will be conducting the risk assessment, you will be able to tick it off as no or negligible risk. Why? Because your supplier has already conducted this risk assessment and a third-party auditor checked that the supplier was implementing the requirements according to the standard. Second one, material supplied from a PEFC Sustainable Forest Management certified forest that is already aligned with EUDR. Hubert already explained earlier where we are at with the alignment process of our certified forest. What you will need to do is to check on the PEFC website whether in the so in certain country, the SFM standard, the certificate holder that is supplying to you is already aligned with the EUDR or not. If it's already aligned, you will be able to use this as an indicator of negligible risk. In addition, the standard also considers material that may be delivered under a valid claim from another certification scheme other than PEFC that you can prove that is aligned with the EUDR. Moving on now to the risk mitigation, this is quite a strong tool for the control sources side of things. When you are sourcing material that may come from an area that results through the risk assessment as standard or high risk, so you can not get it as no or low risk, you need to mitigate the risk. And the risk mitigation includes a detailed set of requirements for you to guide you when you need to conduct the mitigation of the risk. Here, the details go far beyond the details on the EUDR, on the piece of regulation, also because PEFC has some experience on risk mitigation. We already include a full chapter in the current due diligence system on the chain of custody standard. The main steps when conducting the risk mitigation are three. You will need to request additional information. You may need to conduct audits, and depending on the results of the audit, you will need to take corrective measures. And these are all the technical details in regard to the due diligence system. And now I just wanted in a nutshell to explain you how you would implement it. First of all, you will need to identify your input material that is going to enter your supply chain. Afterwards, you implement the material classification according to the current PEFC standard 2002. So you will be receiving either certified material, control sources, other material, or neutral material. Next step, the EUDR material classification, the one we referred to earlier, PEFC EUDR reference, PEFC EUDR non-reference, or non-PEFC EUDR. This will give you an idea of the information you need to require from your supplier. Then you will implement the EUDR DDS according to the information that you have received. And once the material results in no or negligible risk, you can implement the chain of custody method and use the PEFC EUDR claim on your output material. Moving on now to the rollout for organizations. So what do you need to do in order to get certified against the module and in order to implement the requirements of the module? First step, get familiar with the text. Read the module, read the different requirements, and identify what's your role within EUDR. Are you an operator? Are you a trader? You are outside Europe? You are inside of Europe? Second, contact your certification body. Raise awareness. Let them know that you are interested. Prepare for the implementation. Adapt your management system. Identify the staff that will be doing work related to EUDR and trade them. Identify the product groups for which you are going to implement this due diligence system standard module, the suppliers that are giving you the input material for those product groups, and the information requirements that you are going to have to put in place. Get the external audit and start implementing the module and issuing PEFC EUDR claims to your supplier. For more information on the step-by-step that you need to implement, so the steps you need to implement for the module, you will find on the PEFC website, and I think the link has already been shared on the chat, an informative step-by-step guide for companies to implement the PEFC EUDR due diligence system module. And now, certification bodies. What do you have to put in place? What are the steps for you to start providing certification against the PEFC EUDR due diligence system? First of all, you need to get PEFC EUDR recognized training. Afterwards, you will need to extend the scope of your chain of custody accreditation under ISO IEC 17065 to cover the module. Make sure that you contact your accreditation body as soon as possible to show your interest and to prepare for the extension of the accreditation. Engage with your clients and plan your audits and start extending the scope. 2 keynotes. PEFC EUDR DDS recognized training. Dates are available on the PEFC website. If you don't see any date that matches your needs, you want to know more, don't hesitate to contact us at training@pefc.org. Regarding accreditation, currently PEFC is going through a process at EA. EA is the European Accreditation Group level, where the EA is assessing the accreditability of the module, and we expect accreditation to be ready from February 2025 onwards. We are planning to do a similar process on the APAC region, and in addition to that, some accreditation bodies are providing accreditation already at an individual level. That's why I would like to invite all those certification bodies that are interested to already contact their accreditation bodies and discuss how to extend their accreditation. And with this, I will hand over to Rob to continue with the presentation.
Thank you so much, Marta. And hello, everybody. I'm very happy to join. Rob Shaw, and I'm Head of Standards and Integrity at PEFC International. And I'm just going to give you an update on the data management aspects of PEFC International's approach to the PEFC EUDR alignment solutions. So if you go to our EUDR landing page, you will be able to find, information on our technology partners. And I'm very happy today that shortly I'm going to invite Jaime, who is Head of Partnerships at Osapiens, and then Swapan, who is CEO of DeepLi, Timber ID, to briefly take you through their software solutions, which give you end-to-end technology and Earth observation capabilities, helping you to upload and create geolocation data, carry out due diligence system risk assessments, which mimic the PEFC EUDR due diligence system and standard. And if necessary, if you are an operator or a trader who needs to upload a due diligence statement, then these software platforms can also facilitate that process. As well as Osapiens and DeepLi, we also have Livio as our 3 main partners, where we have special PEFC rates and customization of their software systems. And Livio actually presented in a previous EUDR webinar earlier in the summer in 2024. We do have other partners signing up, and you can read about them and find all their details on the technology partners page of our EUDR website. The philosophy here at PEFC International was that we were not going to try and create one of these big data solutions for ourselves, but rather to give choice to certified organizations to be able to research particular organizations who we think are good and want to collaborate with us. And therefore, I would encourage you to take a look at the presentations about to happening now, and then have a good look at the other organizations and what they offer. So without any further ado, I'm now going to hand over to Jaime from Osapiens, and he's going to take you through the Osapiens software solution.
Thank you very much, Rob. Hi to everybody. So appreciate your time, the opportunity, to be here with you today. So I'm going to very quickly, introduce Osapiens and, the inventory, our technology, and how we can support you with EUDR compliance. So for those of you that don't know Osapiens, we are a technology company founded in 2018. We are headquartered in Mannheim in Germany. and then we are over 400 employees by now, and then reaching nearly 1,500 customers, as you can see. We offer the ESG platform to make an impact. So this is one place for companies to, to manage compliance and raise transparency in their operations. But not only that, actually, our platform enables our companies to create impact. So, for instance, by reducing CO2 emissions, cutting down water consumption, not only the companies can be more efficient in terms of cost, but as well they are doing positive impact in terms of sustain environment matters. When it comes down to EUDR, the Sapiens Hub for EUDR is the automatic solution for compliance with the European Union regulation. And let me show you a little bit in more detail here. We're constantly evolving and ensuring that we meet the different requirements of today, but also as the the regulation gets adjustments, we are ready to manage those. We offer the solution in a SaaS environment. Therefore, constant changes, new features are coming and being updated, not only in the EUDR module, but as well in the platform itself. We bring already solid experience, as you can see, with more than the 200 plus customers that we have already using our EUDR solution. You can see on the right some of the logos that are coming from the wood industry, if you like, furniture manufacturers, and then but we span across the different industries that are affected by the EUDR. We offer a solution for EUDR that is, first of all, end-to-end compliant, right? Or helping you to do the end-to-end compliance. So everything that technology can provide is something that we are providing in order for companies to manage EUDR. It is powered by AI in many different ways. For instance, we use AI for the legality risk assessment, but also we offer cutting-edge machine learning, satellite recognition, imagery analysis in order to facilitate or help with the risk around forest degradation and deforestation. We also provide automation, so that's one of the things. So basically, our customers can really pretty much automate the process from the beginning to the end, from the moment they get the data as input, and eventually retrieve the due diligence statement record or registration from the European Commission system. Those 200 customers that have chosen Sapiens, they get all that the technology can really offer. Now, here you see the key functionalities that are being offered. The first thing is actually gathering the EUDR data. We provide many ways of doing this. So flat file uploads. We have a traceability app, so users can input the geolocation coordinates in it. Digital standard interface, API connectors to the main backend systems. As mentioned, we provide the EUDR risk analysis fully, across the different risk categories. And then, very important, we automate and we provide the tracking, the submission of the due diligence statement and getting back the record. So at the end of the day, we saw, first of all, that gathering information for suppliers was very important and critical, but also it's very important as well to carry on with the legality analysis and as well the deforestation analysis. And at the end of the day, having everything in one place and eventually submitting or retrieving the due diligence statement, the due diligence records was very important. If I move to the next slide here, just a second, one back. You can see that you see here we're covering all the three scenarios possible here. So, whether your organization is placing products in the European market, making those products available or referencing into an existing due diligence statement, that's something that our solution it is covering. I'm not going to go obviously into the detail here, but I just wanted to make that aware. And also very important is that our solution is being adaptable to the different organizational structures that might be there. So you can have a pre-configured solution for smaller organizations that works really out of the box. There's no integration required, even though you can integrate. You can use the simple mass uploads via Excel file, CSV file, and then you're going to have all the the functionality and capabilities that you need in order to comply with the EUDR. or you can also go into through different grades. You can go into highly configurable enterprise setups where you can have a deep integration to the to your backend systems within your IT landscape, but also outside. Connected with your suppliers. You have API connections, and then eventually you're going to get as well all the different elements that are necessary for you to manage this in an automated way. So now looking into what's really in it for for the community here, actually, we are offering special rates for those that are willing to, those that have a PEFC certificate, a PEFC certificate holder, they can apply and get special and a special offer from our side. All you gotta do, by the way, you just gotta, scan the QR code here. It will take you immediately to the landing page. Or otherwise, you can go to where you see in the middle here on the right, the Easy Start Limited Offer. This is where you can submit your information. Eventually, there's a section where you can mention that you are, PEFC certificate holder, and eventually, get in contact with us to get special rates and conditions. So with that, I'm handing that back over to you, Rob. Thanks for the opportunity again.
That's great, Jaime. That was fantastic. Yes, and I would recommend any of our technology partners to you. And having been at the OSAPIEN Sustainability Summit in Mannheim earlier this summer, I can vouch for the comprehensiveness of their hub, which is more than just an EUDR solution, and it's quite impressive. However, now to pivot straight to dplyr, Timber ID. So dplyr are a Polish company, and very pleased to be able to introduce to you Swapan, who is their CEO, and Swapan's going to take you through the Timber ID solution. So over to you, Swapan.
Many thanks, Rob, for the invitation and introduction. I'll be waiting for my first slide to appear. Okay, so at dplyr, we are developing the Timber ID solution. We're founded in 2019. And our Timber ID solution is timber specific. So we're not doing any other the commodities under EUDR and not handling any other processes than just EUDR and the authentication and traceability as a separate module, which I'll cover in my presentation. So can you move the slide? Because sorry. Okay, thank you. So Timber ID is a complete, affordable, and easy to implement solution. We're focusing mostly on the sourcing of data. We call it the first mile, because we strongly believe that the right information which you input in the system gives you the quality of the system and the processing within the entire supply chain. Most of systems which we see on the market are lacking this tool, because we're linking the EUDR module in our platform with the authentication module, which I'll cover in the later slides. So when we look at the supply chain, we need to understand what is EUDR. EUDR is a due diligence process which needs to be handled by different operators, just according to the EUDR regulatory, where they need to gather information, provide risk assessments, risk mitigation, and they need to keep the information for 5 years for any auditing. At the same time, they need to create their own DDS statements, which in our system is fully automated via API the connectivity. And we're offering as well integration with the open API key, or obviously a simple integration with file sharing and gathering the information. It's important to be said here that every specific the country will have the country related documentation. So the information gathering is different. We're working with a number of consultants worldwide, which are helping us to support our customers who are importers and by definition are operators to gather this information. So when we're in a supply chain and we're having all those informations, we need to understand that the requirements will come from the top of the supply chain or from the last mile. We see it with our implementations where the producers are requesting now their supply chains to deliver them information which is really important for them. Otherwise, they can't be the compliant. For this purpose, we have in our system a partnership for functionality, which is linking Timber ID platforms within the supply chain, enabling to selectively share required information. So we know exactly who, what shared when. And then we can handle very, very easily a downstream audit. My colleagues were speaking about the audit process, about the certification, that all elements with the PEFC chain of custody are integrated in our platform. So you can enjoy being the company certified by PEFC and working with us on the EUDR regulatory the compliance and implementation of the processes. Can we move to the next one? Okay, so as I said, we have a separate module, and as Maya was saying, we're today all standard risk countries, but we'll split into low risk, standard, and high risk. And especially in the high risk countries, we really need a physical traceability. And for that purpose, we have our own proprietary code marking system with exact geolocation. And in this way, we can do the physical traceability of the logs. We can pass the provenance information and the sawmill from a log to a board level. So there's a separate process, fully integrated in the platform. If there is any more detailed interest, please reach out. I'll be happy to share more. Can we move to the next one? So we're now at the EUDR platform. As you can see, our platform is a cloud-based, is AWS. So it is secure and auto-scalable with redundancies built in. So we're keeping the data privacy and security. As I mentioned, the selectively sharing within the partnership module or linking within the API. The API keys are there, so it's open. And the most important is a simple way to gather all the information, provide the processes of risk assessment and mitigation, and keep the documentation for further audit, as I say, in 5 years. So the collaboration upstream is built in, and the downstream audit process is built in as well. We have added another level of the geolocation proof. We have a system which is called a digital delivery node. As you can see, even the wood chipping quality of timber, when it is leaving the forest, it can have a full evidence of the geolocation in the traceability with the full transparency. We're AI ML based platform in a deep tech solution. For us, it was very simple to add a satellite imagery analysis. Reporting is done upon all the requirements under EUDR. One click, and you basically are receiving in few minutes the full report. Is between 7 to 10 pages with all detailed information and reference dates. As you can see on the picture, on purpose we show an area which is red, so it is deforested. But please have in mind that this risk mitigation measure is applying to large plots of lands. If you are having selective harvesting, which is in some countries under the local regulations, a satellite imagery report analysis would not bring you the right information and evidence, and that you need to have in mind that other means need to be in action. Next, please. So our business model is very specific and very focused, especially on the PEFC base, where we're focusing on small and medium-sized companies. So we're offering annual license fee. We begin with 100 euros annually for full functionality of the system. And then we will grow this rate depending on the size of the company. And this enables actually everyone as a part of a supply chain to use our platform and to link with other Timber ID users just simply makes it very, very affordable to anyone to use it. Other part of the platform is linked with the pay as you use. So basically you see your cloud, you see your storage, you see your transfers, the processing of files, you see exactly how much you need to pay. And obviously, depending on the size of the company, the place in the supply chain you are, it is very, very different. We're getting customers which are large customers with low amount of invoicing and a smaller customers with a number of invoicing. And once we're processing automatically the due diligence statement in our system, obviously the processing power is different. For those who decide to go for the authentication module, we have a dedicated hardware and apps which will enable you to execute these features. So our go-to-market strategies to work with partners in different countries enable us to get a really understanding of the local requirements. So based on the delay of the EUDR, we're also offering till the end of the year a free additional 1 year license fee in order to get you ready. We see in our experience that the timing of the postponement is not really the time you can wait, depending on obviously on the complexity of the supply chains. In our experience, up to even 9 months, some customer needs to get ready in a complex supply chain. Last but not least, we're providing a lot of free of charge to the consultancies. So on Friday, December 13th at 10 a.m., it's on the LinkedIn. You can sign up. It's for free. We're doing a seminar for furniture producers, just to be very specific, because we understand their needs and we learned from our implementation what they are. So many thanks for being here. Please, dply.com, you'll find a lot of information there. Whatever you need, you can just reach out and I'll be happy to support you. Thank you.
And great, thanks very much, Swapan. I hope everybody found those two presentations useful and interesting. As you can see, slightly different value propositions from the two companies, but again, very similar functionality at the core of the compliance. And at this point, Torsten, I think we're now going to Q&A.